who express interests that are more typical of the opposite sex and sometimes want to look and act like the other sex is described as having gender variant behavior. But should parents be concerned? Joining us to share more about what it is clinical psychologist Dr. Tim Hope. Dr. Hope, thanks for joining us today.
Sure, welcome. Good morning.
What is gender variant behavior?
So gender variant behavior is any behavior that does not match the gender that we have assigned to our children.
And so sometimes I think some parents kind of avoid that. I've heard that parents avoid assigning a gender to their child. So they introduce their child as not a girl or a boy.
Recently in Canada, they allow parents to elect on their birth certificates not to assign a sex of the baby. So it's really interesting.
Gender is, saying the gender is different than sex.
Correct. So, so a few definitions. Sex is our biology. So what our genetics tell us we are. XX for girls, XY for boys, and there are some differences, but that's the vast majority of folks. And so we generally will see that an XX person grows up to be a girl, grows up to be a woman, and an XY person grows up to be a boy, grows up to be a man.
Right, but then gender is the gender rules that they're assigned more by society.
Right, and so that is our sense of being a boy and boyness and being a girl and girlness.
And there's also the word identity, but that's basically how you see yourself, your identity.
So
separate
identity,
from gender.
right? So separate from gender, these are overlapping constructs, but they're not exactly the same. And so most of the time, they're all aligned. The sex is the same as the gender, is the same as a person's sense of identity, and most of the time, people's sexual orientation, who they're romantically attracted to, tends to be toward the opposite sex. But we know more and more people are more comfortable, people are more free in expressing themselves and exploring themselves, and they're better able to be accepted. You know, Massachusetts now is a decade of allowing same-sex marriages. It's a wonderful development. And so we know that these, when you talk to adults who have differences, gender variant behavior, you ask them about their histories, they'll say, oh, I knew when I was a little child that when I had a crush on my same-sex teacher, I knew that something was different.
And so now we're going to focus on children, because parents see their kids, you know, you see little boys wearing their mom's high heels or little girls that want to play with dump trucks. Give us some examples of this.
Sure. So I have a very good friend whose boy, when he was about 2 to 3 years old, his favorite color was pink. He loved to wear his mom's high heels and walk around in those, and he used to pretend to be mommy. And so she would ask me, you know, is this something to be concerned about? I said, no, this is completely typical and normal behavior for children at that age, toddlers, young preschoolers, to explore a whole host of different behaviors. That says nothing about what their future is going to hold. Like I said before, when you talk to adults who have adulthood gender variant behaviors, you ask them about their histories, very often they'll say, yes, I was different. However, the vast majority of kids explore these different roles, and we know that very few people actually end up developing that kind of different behavior.
And I think it is something that's very common, you know, even just in our conversation before the show, we were saying how, you know, I dressed up my little brother in dresses, and it's just part of being a child and part of evolving, and that's something that, you know, you have to let kids do.
Right, right.
And explore that.
The more that we can do to be accepting, open, allow our children to explore these different aspects of themselves, to allow them to explore the different roles that are out there in the world, that helps them to feel safe and secure and helps them to build good self-esteem. And what parent doesn't want that for their child? Of course they want that for their child.
Exactly, and so it is something where parents should never be concerned about this. They should just encourage their children to be imaginative, to try new things, and to have an open mind. Is there any point in which parents, you would say, maybe take a closer look and see or talk to your child about this?
Right, so in psychiatry, we do identify gender dysphoric behavior, or gender, it used to be called gender identity disorder, and really that is when there's a severe distress that the person, the child is experiencing, the adolescent is experiencing, or the adult is experiencing in how their sense of who they are does not mesh with their body and how the world accepts them. When you see that kind of distress, when you see that their environment is not accepting them, that is when you might need some help. And then go talk to your doctor, go talk to a psychologist.
Yes, because above all, you want your children to be happy no matter what that is. And so parents should support their children and obviously do what's best for them.
Yeah, that's right.
Thank you so much, Dr. Hope.
Sure, you're welcome.
Great to have you here.